Chandrasundaramukam Tambraravindechanam Bhaktabhishtavarabhayapradakaram Gaupinamatrojvalam Svatmanam Tarasanubhutibibasham Sarvanavadyangakam Shrimantam Shridamanishwaram Guruvaram Yogasana Dhyasitam Dhyayet Shri Ramanishwaram Dhyayet Shri Ramanishwaram Dhyayet Shri Ramanishwaram Hridaya Kuhara Madhye Kevalam Brahmavatram Yahamaham Sakshat Atmarupena Bhati Hridivisha Manasa Swam Chinvata Majjatava Pavana Chalanarodha Atmanishto Bhavatvam. Namo Ramana. In this Tuesday satsang from Ramanacentre Center for Learning, Bangalore, we have been reading Bhagavan's Upadesham from the book Years in the Presence of Ramana, My Master, by Mahakrishna Swami, originally edited by our founder president Sri A.R. Natarajanji. This is Mahakrishna Swami's reminiscences of his stay in Ramanashramam, titled in the book Years in the Presence of Ramana, My Master. We have been meditating on the second chapter of this book, titled Happiness, the Natural State of Being. In this chapter, Mahakrishna Swami goes on to reveal how Bhagavan's teaching is about happiness, which is the natural state of oneself, of the being. So, in this continued question answer, the questioner puts this question: is there any relationship between happiness and the accumulation of material things? Question is there any relationship between happiness and the accumulation of material things? Bhagavan's answer is, if a person thinks that happiness is linked to external causes, his possessions, it is reasonable to conclude that it will increase with the accumulation of material things and diminish in proportion to its reduction. Therefore, if this person has no possession, his happiness will be null. What is the real experience of a man? Is it according to this point of view? In deep sleep, a person has no possessions, not even this own body. Instead of being unhappy, he is very happy. Everyone wants to sleep deeply. The conclusion is that happiness is inherent in man and is not linked to exterior causes. The experience of deep sleep clearly teaches that happiness consists in existing without a body. The sages confirm this. It is like a laborer carrying a heavy load over his head to gain his slavery. He carries the weight without any pleasure. He takes it to the destination and finally frees himself from it with relief and joy. So let's meditate on this wonderful answer by Bhagavan, and after that we will have a practice of self-inquiry session for 20 minutes, and then our President Sarada Akka would be talking about self-enquiry as it has been contemplated in Ramana Gita. Finally, we will have the concluding prayers. The question, though it is a question, it is a way of life for all of us, isn't it? Where it is said that the question is there any relationship between happiness and the accumulation of material things? Though it's a question, but if you look at our daily life, where we are striving from morning till we go to sleep, what are we striving for? Striving for some material things. Not necessarily when we say material things, things such as objects outside. Even when we have a conversation with somebody, we are in the outlook for looking for somebody to speak well about us, good about us. In the sense that we are trying to accumulate something very, very good or objective which makes us feel happy. But is this, since we believe this is the way, this is the whole way the whole world converses with each other, or does the business on a daily basis, each individual gets into this every day. So it makes us all believe that this should be the right way to gain happiness. And naturally, there is a question. Is there a relation between happiness and the accumulation of material things? Now, this is where we can see we have not inquired about our experience. Rather, we have inferred an idea based on many people's way of doing things. So and that is what this inference is, what is driving us. Because many people in the world keep on accumulating things, or they are shown to be the successful people. When we go to YouTube or when we look at videos that are shared, and the more the billions, the millions and trillions that you have, you are shown to be more successful. And the way they show their success is the kind of house they carry, the lifestyle that they live, the materials that they own. So naturally, this is a continuous thing. They are considered to be the heroes, the CEOs of a big corporation. And they are considered to be the heroes. And they are shown that they are the most happiest people on this planet Earth. So this propaganda makes us infer very strongly that we should also strive for more and more material gathering. Through that approach, the happiness of oneself goes. But what we don't understand is this is an idea inferred to us by somebody else. But what is my own experience? And that is where Bhagavan comes to our help, where he shows or openly demonstrate what is our own real experience. Our own real experience is, it is not that if I have no objective things, like let me take my childhood, when I did not have any object, I didn't even know who is my father or mother, where I am born, to which country, nothing. I don't know about my citizenship. I don't know the material accomplishment of my father or my mother. I have absolutely no idea about it at that point in time. It was not the same, there was no idea of being happy or unhappy also. I was just there. And so I don't even, but as I grow up and as I inferred things from many people, I started to think that I need to accumulate material things. It started with education in the first place, so that when I get highly educated, I will be able to get a good job, and that job would help me get good money, and that money will help me get the basic needs, not only the basic needs of the life, it will help me get more material comforts. And this is the idea. This inference is the general inference in which the society is running. But Bhagavan brings it very close to one's own personal experience. And he says, what happens if you don't have any possession? Will you stop to being existing, or will you cease to exist? Or will is that happiness related to it? Yes, if I infer that objective accumulation is necessary for my happiness, then I may become unhappy. But if I don't infer that, as long as I have some good health, and as long as I get to eat whenever I am hungry, and I have a basic minimum set of shelter or a place where I can be, I don't think my happiness will be any physically much more needed. So he goes on to reveal that if we go even further, if we go to the self, and he takes us to the deep sleep here, and he reveals that in the deep sleep, forget about even this bodily hunger, the bodily need for a shelter, the bodily need for anything. In the deep sleep, even I am not even aware of my body. What happens to my state there? Am I looking for the body, or have I become unhappy because I don't have the body? So naturally, it is all of our experience that it is not so. In fact, Bhagavan reveals here, if I can get to deep sleep, truly a deep sleep, I would be more happy. If the sleep is very shallow, let's say somebody next to you is snoring very deeply, and you are not able to sleep, and your sleep is disturbed, you will find ways to get back to sleep. So that means all the material possession, all things are not really going to give us happiness. It is when we let go of all the possessions, and which is the nature of the self, though it is like it is present, and in its presence everything appears and disappears, yet it remains unaffected by the transition of all these things which appear and disappear. So the deep sleep reveals the truth of one's own self being not dependent on anything, including the body. So Bhagavan here, bringing the experience so deep within, so naturally within, is revealing that I need not have to do anything. As I simply went into the sleep, all this natural happiness was naturally available to me. So he is, in a way, clearly telling us how important it is for one to recognize this truth. And he's also conveying that the objective knowledge or the objective possession is not at all required for one's own happiness. Then why did all this, what is the purpose of all of these objective things that are appearing in that case? That would be the next natural question to ask. Then, as Akka would always say, he says, come within, come within. And he created this huge giant wheel. And then he says, come within and the giant wheel stops, and then we still have the possession to be with the giant wheel, with the running wheel. I am not getting the analogy right here. It would be better. We will listen from Akka about it. Very beautifully, she says, he has created the whole of this, and he says, come within and let go everything. Then what about this whole beautiful creation? What is the purpose of it? And suppose perhaps we can simply understand that it is to enjoy this togetherness, this manifestation as one whole, rather than creating a sense of division. And by creating a sense of division, creating vacuums of what I own and what I don't know. This wrong approach, if we let go, then we recognize that everything, whatever is given naturally available to the senses, to the body, to our access, is more than enough for us to enjoy the real happiness. It is only when we are not happy with what is given to us and we infer an idea about or build up a sense of separateness which I don't possess, that, and I strive to possess it, that is when the unhappiness creeps in. If we were to simply accept what comes to us naturally, in whatever which way, whether in form of the body, in the form of ailments, in the form of good things, in the form of food, in the form of thoughts, in the form of exchange of ideas, in whatever which way Ishvara brings us from morning till evening, if we were to simply accept it, and accept it as though it has been given to us with lot of love and compassion, and if we become happy with whatever is given to us, or we start to enjoy the togetherness that has been brought about so naturally by the grace, then these objective possessions that we have really doesn't make us move anywhere, because we become one with it. The togetherness makes us not have a sense of separation. And in that, we can see the beauty of the happiness, natural happiness that is present. So Bhagavan here goes on to say, the experience of deep sleep clearly teaches that happiness consists in existing without a body. That the sages confirm this. It is like a laborer carrying a heavy load over his head again to gain his salary. He carries the weight without any pleasure. He takes it to the destination and finally frees himself from it with relief and joy. In a similar way, whatever comes to us, instead of thinking that I own it, I need to carry it, I need to take it to a place, if we were to simply understand, as Bhagavan puts it, that the train is carrying everything for us, and if we are one with it in the train and move about without having much concern how long that luggage stays with us or goes away with that, then without that anxiety and anything, we can live a life of relief, a life of joy. And that's the only thing that that is the kind of happiness that we should look for with these material things. Expecting anything else apart from the material things, either I want more of it for my happiness or want less of it for my happiness, is all going to cause a lot of pain. But if we simply accept the material things that is given to us at any given point in time as Ishvara Prasada, and if we can, whether it is in the form of comfort or a discomfort, if we can simply stay with it, we can make it part of us, and then there is no pain to carry the burden anymore. And in that lies the pure relief and joy. That is what Bhagavan is saying. And if we are free of, and in a way, we become free of all the material needs, and the natural happiness is found to be present in the self naturally. With Bhagavan's immense grace, with which alone we have come to this most direct path, for the next 20 minutes, no matter how many thoughts come, no matter what is the nature of those thoughts, if we were to simply inquire to whom is this, we recognize it is for me. And when we say, who am I? We recognize, including the I thought and the thoughts that came to the thinker, all have emerged from the self. All is nothing but the self, and all again merges back in the self. So it is oneself through and through. And in that unity is the relief. And whether it is with object or without the possession of the object, we are experiencing the self and self alone. Bhagavan's immense grace, let us practice self-inquiry for the next 20 minutes. Bhagavate Sri Ramana Murnaka
Namo Ramana Dileep. Namo Ramana. Prostrations to Ramana, shining as the self in all beings. By the immense grace of the self manifest as Ramana, in this part of the satsang, we are meditating on the verses of Ramana Gita. Ramana Gita is a compilation in 18 chapters by Ganapati Muni in Sanskrit verse of Bhagavan Ramana's answers to the questions of several seekers of truth. This has been recorded in the period around 1915 and 1917. A couple of verses are there, a couple of chapters are there in 1913 as well. And so we find Muni describing Bhagavan's glory in the final chapter, the 18th chapter, which is Siddha Mahimanu Kirtanam, the glory of the Siddhas. The questioner in this chapter is Amritanatha Yati, and he has questioned Bhagavan about the glory of the Siddhas, and Bhagavan, of course, gives his answer. But this question and answer come at the very end of the 18th chapter. The rest of the chapter is Muni's praises on Bhagavan Ramana. And we had meditated on Vachadbhu Mantrasam, that is, he who is the essence of the mantra, secret mantra, Vachat Om Vachat Bhuve Namaha. He is the mystic import of the mantra Om Vachat Bhuve Namaha. Salutation to the fire of Brahman. And we found that this mantra has been secretly encoded in the verse where Muni says that it is Vedadipaka Damanottara Kachapeshe Yukte Dharadara Sushuptyamareshwarescha Sukshmamrita Yugamritena Saha Pranatya Sampanna Shabda Patalasya Rahasyamartham. Now, why is the Muni given us this Ramana as the embodiment of the secret mantra? Of course, even the mantra is not mentioned here, but in specific Sanskrit way, it is encoded over here. One has to uncode it or go to the source of the code and find that it is Om Vajat Bhuve Namaha, which is a sacred mantra about the fire. But why a secret mantra as one part of the praise of Bhagavan? It was striking me that it is because the very self is said to be a secret vidya, a Gupta vidya. The self is hidden. We find a beautiful song by Akka Mahadevi where she says, Nelaya Maraya Nidhanadante, like the treasure is hidden under the earth. So many things are hidden from our sight, she says. So tilada maraya tailadante, as oil is hidden in the sesame seed, as fire is hidden in wood. So it is, O Lord Shiva, that you are hidden. It is very difficult to know you. Ninnannu aru ariyabaradu. It is not easy to know. It is not easy to come by our knowledge, she says. Akka Mahadevi, the great saint, woman saint poet of Karnataka. So it is a Gupta Shakti. Even Sri R. Natarajan has written a book under the title The Gupta Shakti, the hidden power. This power of the self is hidden. This is one part of it. But the other part is this hidden power has become embodied, says Muni. It has become visible to us as Ramana. So we find the great love of Ramana. Yesterday was Skanda Shashti, and the Muni is seeing Bhagavan as the embodiment of Subramanya, Lord Skanda. And the love of Skanda is, Skanda says, self-knowledge is for all. It should not be a hidden mystery at all. That is the lore, the Puranic lore of Skanda and the dialogue between Skanda and the creator Brahma. And finally, the episode between Skanda and Lord Shiva. And when Lord Shiva says, you have challenged Brahma whether he knows this truth. Are you, Skanda, aware of this truth? And then Skanda says, ask as a disciple and I will let you know. And Shiva bows down to him, the little Skanda. He puts him on his shoulder and listens to the Upadesha from Skanda, as a disciple would do from a guru. So Skanda is hailed as Shiva Guru. The import of it for us is that Bhagavan has thrown open to one and all the sacred and secret lore of the Vedas. The essence of the Vedas, the secret essence of the Vedas has been thrown open to us. And that is why the Muni here says that you are the essence of the Vachadhu mantra. And then he goes on to praise Bhagavan through a series of paradoxical epithets. Dandam vinaiva yatinam vata dandapanim. You are the ascetic who carries no danda. Normally ascetics carry the danda. We saw that also last time. And dukkhabditarakam, you are the one who takes us across the ocean of becoming, of which is full of sorrow. Dukkhabdi. The bhavabdi it is called here, Muni calls it dukkhabdi. And Bhagavan Ramana tells us that every thought is sorrow. Every thought is sorrow. We think some thoughts are sorrowful, some thoughts are joyous. But Ramana says, no, every thought is sorrow. Why is every thought sorrow? Why is this becoming, this abdi, this ocean of becoming is actually the ocean of thoughts? Because every time a thought arises, a thought is the movement of attention towards an object. In order to become something, in order to attain something, in order to become something, meaning, even though we say it is in order to attain happiness, we can say in order to become a happier person, in order to become a more peaceful person, we seek an object. So this is, say, movement of thought. And this thought, what does it do actually? It takes us away from the self. It gives us the impression that there is joy in something apart from the self, in the object. So it actually creates a barrier between us and the self. It creates the illusion of happiness in object. So it is a dukkha. It is the root of sorrow. So the Muni says, dukkhabdi tarakam. You take us across this ocean of sorrow. How do you take us across this ocean of sorrow? By turning the attention into the depth of that very ocean, into the source of that very ocean, by asking us to question, where from does this I arise? Where from does this thought arise? This I thought, the root thought, where from does it arise? And when we dive in this manner, says Bhagavan, Majjata, when we dive in Kupe yata gadajale tatantaha nimajya buddhya shatayanitantam. With the intellect, when it merges, when it submerges into the self, then what happens? Vinde nija ahankriti moola rupam. You can see the ahankriti moola rupa. So, Muni says, Dukkhabdi Tarakam. How does he take us across this ocean of becoming? By taking us to its source. In another way, the great ones say, Swami Chinmayananda has said in one of his talks, Ramana does not solve the problem, he dissolves the problem. So he does not take us across the ocean of samsara, of sorrow. He makes us see that sorrow is non-existent. It is a mere creation of the mind. It is a mere creation of the mind which gets us caught in the duality of so-called sorrow and pleasure. And he takes us across that by saying, where is this mind? One of the lady devotees, I think it may be Subbalakshmamma, she went to him and said, Bhagavan, please cut away my mind. And Bhagavan said, oh, bring this mind in front of me and I will cut it away for you. Bring this mind in front of me. And he would often say, what is this mind? Does it have a mustache? Does it have a beard? How does it look? Is it red in color or white in color? We can ask ourselves, what is this mind? So he dissolves the dukkha. Meera, in her bhajan, says, when she says, I have found the Sadguru, mohe lage latak guru charanan ki, bhav sagar sab sukh gaya re, bhav sagar sab sukh gayo re, fikar I do not have any worry about crossing the Bhavasagara because it has gone dry, she says. So that is Bhagavan's Guru. Mohe lage latak Guru Charananiki. I have got the Guru Charana. I have got hold of the Guru Charana. So here Muni saying, Dukkhabdi Tarakam. So he is Taraka. He is the one who takes us across. At the same time, he is the enemy of Taraka Asura. You know, the names are very close. There is one Gajasura and there is Gajanana. So, the same concept, the same I, Bhagavan says, when it is associated with the body, it becomes Tarakasura. This I thought, when it gets associated with the body and says, I am the body, it becomes Tarakasura. And Ramana slays that Tarakasura. But if that same I thought decides to surrender to its source, it turns inward and seeks who am I or whence am I, it becomes the Taraka, it becomes the Taraka path, the way of taking us across all this bhava, this dukkha. It takes us back to the source of joy. So, this apparent dichotomy. So, he does not have any danda, he does not have any attribute of being a renunciate. Even an attribute of being a renunciate, he does not have. Because even to have a single attribute, one must have the minimum ego. But he is Dandapani. He is the one who holds the danda of the veil. He is Dandapani. In Palani, he is called Dandapani, Muruga, where he renounced everything and stood on the hill of Palani. So, similarly, Bhagavan is Dandapani. He holds that danda which is a scepter, he is the emperor of all the universes, because Bhagavan says, when one goes to the source, in Ashtakam he says, when one goes to the source of the I, what happens is that all these dualities disappear. Indraham Puram, Irvinai, Iral, Janmam, Indu, Tundu, Irul, Oli, Enum, Gana, Idayam, Mandraham, Achalama, Nadamidum, Aruna, Malayanum, Yalayanum, Aruli, Kadale, he says. So there is all these dualities disappear. And what happens when one reaches that state? He says, Oru Kudai Nirar Kove. One becomes the single emperor. The single emperor, the single Chhatrapati of all the universes. So he is the Dandapani. He is the enemy of Tarakasura, the ego of I am the body. And he is the Taraka Mantra, the Taraka Marga of self-enquiry. Tyaktva Bhavam. He has actually given up. He has surrendered, renounced the world, entire world. Bhagavan says to Vishwanatha Swami, you must treat the entire universe as a mere speck of dust. So he has renounced the entire universe as a speck of dust. But yet, Bhavamaho Satatam Bhajantam, he is constantly singing the glory of Shiva by turning to Shiva as the self all the time. And every moment, Bhagavan would say, this universe is my father's universe. It belongs to my father. If a small gram of any of the pulses, any of the dal had fallen somewhere, if a grain of rice were to have fallen somewhere and catches Bhagavan's eye, he would take that gram or that single grain and he would carefully wipe it in his towel and he would put it back into its container, saying, this is Arunachala's property. And the same sentence he told Vishwanatha Swami, treat the entire universe as a mere speck of dust and treat every speck of dust as the entire universe, as because it belongs to Shiva. So Bhavamaho Satatam Bhajantam. Tyaktva Bhavam, to renounce every thought. The thought is birth, thought is Bhava. To renounce all the thought, Tyaktva Bhavam, and to ever celebrate the self, Bhavamaho Satatam Bhajantam, to celebrate the self always, to celebrate everything as the self always. Ashtamurti Vriddeva Pujanam, says Bhagavan. Bhavamaho Satatam Bhajantam. Hamsam, greatest renunciate. Hamsam Tatapi Gatamanasa Sangaratam. A Hamsa who has no attachment whatsoever to the great leg Manasa, not sporting, though sporting in the Manas, though acting in the world with the mind, with no attachment to the mind, as Bhagavan has told us earlier in Ramana Gita, his mind is like the moon in daylight. The light of the self envelops it. So there is no Sangha to the mind. Though he is a Hamsa sporting in the Manasa, he is a renunciate sporting in the Manasa, that beautiful, majestic white swan, that pure light of Bhagavan. It is sporting in the mind, but it has no attachment whatsoever to the mind, says the Muni, giving us at the same time the glory of Bhagavan and the glory of the self and the path to return to the self and its glory. Om Namo Bhagavate Shri Rama.
Namo Ramana. Apara Satchit Sukavarirashe Yasyormimatram Bhuvanam Samastam Guhahitam Tam Ramanam Gabhiram Chintavihinam Hrudi Chintayami Chintavihinam Hrudi Chintayami. Ramana.